just a second. No, just a second. I will tell you when it's. Все, мы в эфире, можно начинать.
Okay. Good afternoon, dear our participants. We start our next event. It's a masterclass for postgraduate students. As lecturer, we have Miroslav Jovanovic. Miroslav Jovanovic is a specialist in international economics. He worked for the United Nations in New York in the Center for Transnational Corporations, and then in Geneva for United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. Now Miroslav is a professor of University of Geneva, Switzerland. And Miroslav, you deliver his point of view for economic researching, in international economics. My colleague Alexandra maybe add some more words.
Yes. Miroslav, thank you very much for joining our conference. We are very thankful for your contribution, and we appreciate very much that even that you prefer to do it offline, you come here and you will share your exciting knowledge on how to do research with our audience, with our students, and with all people who would like to do better research in economics. Thank you very much, and please share your expertise with us.
Okay, and for our schedule, we have time till 4 p.m. and after that we will have sessions with our postgraduates. And before we need to receive opinion of Miroslav for researching in international economics. Please, Miroslav.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, уважаемые коллеги, я счастлив сегодня иметь возможность поделиться с вами своими мыслями и опытом относительно исследований в области экономики. Еще больше меня радует то, что я занимаюсь этим в уважаемом университете в Санкт-Петербурге, на родине в России. I hope that I was understandable.
Yes, excellent.
Okay. Dear colleagues, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to have this master class and share my experience with the distinguished audience. Now, I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation, and here is an engineer that may help me to share it. Do you see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, it's okay.
I can start with it. It is my delight to share this, and I'd like to express my gratitude to colleagues in St. Petersburg, in particular to Sasha, Vladimir and Olga that were in contact with me and with whom I share experience and support for years back, and I hope that it will continue like that in the future. Now, before I start, I always like to have a quotation from the book that we all know, and investment in knowledge is something to which diminishing returns do not apply. We'll start
Miroslav,
today.
just one request. Could you use slideshow this button?
Yes. Do you see it or not?
Yes, we see here. It's possible to use slideshow button.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
it?
Oh, okay. It's
Okay.
excellent.
Fine. Again, technique. Look, next time I want to do that offline and in person. As I said, I'm here to do economics and not to connect wires. And I'm doing that only for you. The structure of my presentation is the following. I'll have a short introduction. Then we'll discuss reputation of economists. Then we'll see what are goals, curiosity, subject, and method. In economics, examples. Then the question is what to do. The importance of chance and conclusions. Now, I asked my students, I showed them this slide and asked them, what do you see? And little Peter says, all sheep in Scotland are black. Well, somebody else, little John, he says, well, I see that there is one sheep in Scotland which is black. And then somebody else, and then there is a little Mary, and girls and women observe that in a much better way. And she says, I see that there is only one sheep in Scotland, one side of which is black. So what I want to say, if we are looking at the same object, we do not necessarily see the same thing. Economists, are they respected? Well, I can to say that for quite some time, they have a very low esteem. And the reasons are manifold. They did not predict the scope and that of the financial crisis of some 12 years ago. Then austerity in Greece. Greece was in financial troubles. Economists suggested, not all, suggested austerity measures to tighten belt in order to reduce debt. Austerity were applied in Greece on an unprecedented historical scale. Greece was tightened, and what happened? Instead of reducing, foreign debt as a part of the GDP increased by a third. Then in Brexit, well, they said that if you vote in favor of Brexit, tomorrow the sun will not shine, bridges will fall down, unemployment will skyrocket. And what happened? Unemployment was at the lowest level after this vote in favor of Brexit, was on the lowest level for the past 40 years. Then sanctions on Russia because of the reunification with the Crimea. They said, introduce sanctions and Russia's economy will be on its knees. Then what happened? Russia, being one of the biggest global importer of food, became a global, one of the most important exporters of food. Russia, for the past years, Russian, please correct me, is gaining more hard currency from export of food than from export of all military hardware. Then employment in the United States. Last year in June, it was in May, it was projected to increase to 7.5 million additional unemployment. In the same month, an opposite thing has happened. 2.5 million new jobs were added. Unemployment rate from the expected 20% fell to 13%. So that is confusion in advices that economists can give. So something new and something different is necessary. So what should be done? for researchers. What is the goal? What do you want to do? Is research in economics your job? Is it your mission? You want to do something that you like, to explore something new, or both? If you are in the first group, then this masterclass is not for you. You can leave and carry on with your job. Somebody gives you a problem and you consider it. But if it's your mission, that you would like to do something new, something different, to look outside of the box, outside of what is normally known, well, then we can discuss this matter. So what is necessary? Necessary is to take a look outside of the box and have a degree of curiosity. And then there is a famous question: what killed the cat? Was it electricity, or was it curiosity? So when you need to have a degree of curiosity, to look into something new or something different. But of course, there are limits where you need to put your fingers and your time and the like. So curiosity is there. So you have a curiosity, and you need, the first thing is to select a topic. What do you want to research? And the mother of all inventions is necessity. Now it is vaccine. So you are exploring and looking for vaccines right now, or drugs against cancer, Alzheimer, or so. So that is necessity. Jet engine is also coming out of necessity. During the Second World War, airplanes were flying high, but their propellers didn't have enough air to bite. So something else was necessary, to have an engine which is able to work in thin air. The same thing with the radar. Radar was necessary to detect the Nazi aircrafts. So necessity is mother of inventions. And then you can have public request and funds. The government wants you to go and fly to the moon or to outer space or so, and give you funds. Then there are private companies that look for profit, and there is nothing wrong, and they see that something is necessary, such as, for example, simplification of these online classes and exchanges, or transfer of voice into a typewritten text. And there is curiosity. It explains itself, and serendipity. It is looking for something specific, but finding something else. And the best example for serendipity is the discovery of Viagra. Doctors and pharmacists and chemists were looking for a drug against heart diseases, like angina pectoris. And these people that were feeling this pain and emotions of suffocation, they were giving them this medicament, and they found that these almost semi-dead men got the boost in their virility. And this is serendipity. You are trying to find something else, and but find something else. Then dissatisfaction with what is known. For example, washing machines. Can you invent washing machines without water? Or find the missing link between some things that are there. And definitely, you have to have luck. You know how Alexander Fleming found penicillin. Still, what to do? what to do, how to find the topic and carry on. So selection of topic, promising topic, is a halfway done job. Isaac Newton, one of the brightest brains that this universe has ever known and seen, he spent years, some of his most productive years, studying the subject, how to turn lead into gold. And he was not alone during this period of the 18th century, 17th and 18th century. Boyle, Locke, Leibniz, they did the same thing. So how to filter, if such great minds were locked into such an intellectual dead end, what can one expect from other bright minds or less bright minds? So the mistake by these people was not, well, the mistake by these great 18th century minds was the problem they chose. They were searching for the answer to the wrong question, not the method for solving it. So how to carry on? Does the golden rule exist? And the golden rule does exist. And the golden rule is that the golden rule doesn't exist. It depends on funds, on time that you are able to devote, support by the surroundings, and understanding by the surroundings. So what, again, you need to do, and I can share my humble experience as a graduate student in Amsterdam at the beginning of the 80s. I was studying economic integration theory, different economic policies, law, and things like that. And the thing that was not clear to me was the theory of economic integration, customs union, free trade areas. It was not clear to me, and this is one of the lessons in particular for the students. If there is something that your professors or in books that you are reading is not clear to you, if you have curiosity, this is the best area to find something new and something promising, something where you can add value. One of the values that you in Russia can do is to study the following subject. The operation of an economy under perpetual sanctions. Russia has been under sanctions for 1 century. There were only a few years during the 90s when there were no sanctions, and my Russian colleagues tell me that it was a disaster. So your economy was under sanctions for 1 century, and it will continue because they don't want you to develop, to be an important competitor, as you have shown with the transformation, which has almost never happened over the past 100 years, apart from at the beginning after the revolution, electrification and industrialization, this transformation of agricultural production. So this is highly publishable thing. So what I did, this integration theory was unknown to me, unclear, unsystematized. So I went to the library and I took all economic journals that were available there, and there were many, going from one volume to another, looking for all articles on customs union, economic integration, and the like. And I found some of 50 articles or so. I read them, and I started to put these pieces of puzzle together. So what I was doing, I was not writing these books on integration, and God knows how many of them I have, 25, 6, 7, 8. I was not writing for the audience. I was writing for myself. For example, if I was tabula rasa, if I didn't know anything about economic integration, what I wanted to read as the first book, I was writing that for myself. What I would like to read as a first book on the subject, which was very dull to me, unclear. Now it's, in a sense, easier because you have internet, finding sources is much faster and cheaper and less time consuming. Then discussions with friends and colleagues. You have to have inspiration and luck. I had luck that I was studying later in Canada under the supervision of Professor Richard Lipsey, who created this theory of modern theory of economic integration and integration and customs union. And again, what to do? What to do? All wisdom. Well, says, well, if you don't have a clear idea from the beginning, just go to the library or what was done before and take a look at what others have done. Try to put puzzle together and try to add value, try to write in an understandable and systematic way. And here are examples. Textile. Women were weaving linen in ancient Egypt. This is the primitive machine for producing cloth. As time passed by, 1,000 whatever years later, came a loom. And who invented the loom? The first invented loom was by Anton Müller. He was an inventor in 1529 in Danzig, Gdansk. So the city authorities were unable or unwilling to understand the possible addition, this new addition to the economic life. They were afraid that there would be unemployed people. What they did, they drowned Anton Müller. He was a new person, a person with new ideas, better, and the environment around him did not understand what type of new and good invention he had, new invention. And what happened 3 centuries later? In Britain, looms started the Industrial Revolution. If in one place there is no understanding, in another place there may be understanding. And again, all participants of this master class, I'm sure, were at least once in their lifetime in the theater. At the end of a play or opera or ballet, when the audience is satisfied, they give a big hand. And when they were clapping, there was one point. When they started to clap in the same tact, even though nobody is conducting them. And then in this chaos, there is some order. But how to understand it, how to put it together and make something useful. Another example is from Ireland more than a century ago. Ireland was an economy based on agriculture. They were working on land and were using oxen and horses as a power that was moving their plows while plowing. And there was a man that had an idea how to make a horseless machine that would increase plowing of land, that would increase productivity by 10%, and came with a plan to one bank and asked for a loan to start company producing them. And one bank refused them. He went to another, third, fourth, fifth. They all didn't understand his plan, and they literally kicked him out. So what he did, he bought a ticket across the ocean to Canada because it is shorter and the ticket was cheaper. So he went to Canada and knocked on one door, second, third, and he found a man who understood this. They teamed up, made a company, and were happily living together in business. But this story, which I told you, was in a sense without any power, because I didn't tell you the name of this person. His person was Ferguson. And this is the machine which the Irish refused. So every person in the world that knows how to read and write has seen this. And Massey, Ferguson, turned out to be one of the biggest and most successful agriculture machinery company in the world. Understanding of the environment in Ireland was not there. So what I tell to my students, if you are in a bank or in the ministry, and if someone comes to you with a crazy plan, an idea, and you think that it won't fly, reject it. But before you do that, step back, remember this story about Ferguson, and then decide, and then reject or so. But have an intelligent rejection. You see, Ireland could have this, but he didn't understand this. So this is the environment. Another thing is Hernan Cortez went to Mexico, well, what is now Mexico, in 1519. He landed at Veracruz with 11 ships, 600 men and 15 horses and just a few cannons. When he did that, he burned all the ships. No way back. So determination. You don't have to be discouraged from the first rejection. So you have to have perseverance, because in the world, you are facing uncertainty. Well, against risk, you can get insurance, but against uncertainty, you cannot. There are going to be many crises. You need to have stamina. You will suffer. You will have many misfortunes and disappointments and sleepless nights before you say, Eureka, I done it, if it ever happens. And I can tell you that not many times I can say I made it. And I can tell you now I made it. And I'm delighted that with all my books on economic integration, I assisted to a small extent to the British to make the right decision to leave the European Union. And I'm delighted about their correct decision, according to my view, because I was, in a sense, making an X-ray, even striptease of economic integration. They are fantastic things, but they are also disastrous things. So the Brits rescued themselves. And at the end, you need you need to know when to stop and when to start doing something else. Creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes, but art is knowing which ones to keep. And also keep this thing in mind, what Niels Bohr, a great physicist, once told to a colleague who thought outside the mainstream box. He said, Herr Professor, we all agree that your theory is crazy. However, we are not convinced that it is crazy enough to be right. And George Bernard Shaw, in his Maxims, 124 wrote that the reasonable man adapt himself to the world. The unreasonable man persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Linked to economics. When I was studying economics in the 70s or so, economics was a technical science. Mechanical, deterministic, there was clear cause and effect, separate subject from object, rational behavior, there was a representative agent. Equilibrium is at the end it's the end state and the goal, and policy recommendations were straightforward. Equilibrium is the end. Policy recommendation is remove all market imperfections. And if there is disequilibrium in the balance of payments, you devalue, you increase exports, decrease imports, you get balance in the balance of payments, and everything is fixed by itself. So it was very mechanical. Equilibrium. You fix it in the way that is rather mechanical and straightforward. However, the world doesn't work like that. There are everywhere disequilibria, and the equilibrium theory has a very big problem to explain things like this. The largest maritime ship diesel engine, you see here, this is a man, how huge this engine is. It is used in trans-Pacific and transatlantic tankers and container ships and the like. And I asked students to tell me which country produces this. And they say Japan, then everybody says China, United States, or so. This engine is produced in Switzerland. So the equilibrium theory has a very difficult problem to explain that. It is in Winterthur, and it was later bought and produced by Wärtsilä in Helsinki. Now the new one, alternative view, something different, is evolutionary model. It's another look at how the world economy works. It is full of uncertainties you can't ensure. There is endogenous technological growth. And these are two very important points. There is a non-maximizing behavior of profit-oriented firms. And maximization cannot be defined as a concept in the face of uncertainty. So we are in this very uncertain situation and world. Evolution is a gradual process of unfolding, self-transformation, self-organization after oscillations, and the appearance in orderly succession of events over a long period of time. It is an irrevocable process, and the historical tape or historical film or historical CD is played only once. So in this evolutionary disequilibrium, now the evolutionary or disequilibrium maybe sometimes used as synonyms, there are multiple equilibria at the same time. There's no one. Behavior is easily whimsical. Caprice is everywhere. Mistakes are made. And the risk, there are firms and individuals that are risk lovers and risk averse. So risk lovers may go and lose or get enormously. Players, they are no representative players, they are heterogeneous. And in this situation, individual choices are not necessarily irrational. But this evolutionary model, or this equilibrium model, rewards only those that get it right, that bet on the right horse. And how it works. Imagine this panel A, that there is only a two-dimensional space, like this, like U shape. And you need to locate in this space one firm, and that is this ball. Wherever you put it, it will end up only here. There is only one solution. And one solution exists only, for example, where there is a petrol deposit or gold mine or copper or so. No choice. You have to drill for oil or gas only, or gold or diamonds, only where they exist. That's it. Now imagine this, space, a hump space where there is a firm, and it is more complicated. There are two solutions. Well, for example, where to put the gas station, at the one entrance or the exit of a city, or where to put bakery, on one corner of a school or another. And this panel C is the situation which is in real world. It is a calotte, and you have this firm, and there are n solutions where you locate it. And only a small chance or wind or small subsidy or so could turn this ball to one side or another. So there is a very high uncertainty in this evolutionary way. So the opportunity in this third case shows very seldom, and the light through the passage passes at a very short period of time. You have to be very careful to have courage, to be a risk lover, to grab the opportunity. Otherwise, if you let others to be the first, they pick up the cream, you can have a bit less after that. You may be a risk-averse person and follow and be happy with whatever remains. So these things are changing. These things are changing all the time over centuries in the world. At the time where Columbus went to what is now known as the American continent, this was the size of his ship. There were three of them, Santa Maria, Pinta, and Niña, in 1492. At the same time, China had these types of ships, ocean-going ships, and the number of these ships in China at that very time was 1,500. Keep in mind that the biggest navy in the world, the US Navy, right now has a bit less than 500 ships. At that time, China had 1,500, and then there came another emperor, didn't want to go outside and global, and he burned all the ships over there. So when economic historian writes economic history in 1 century from today, they will not write how China has risen during the 21st century, but how China fell down in the 18th and 19th century. So once again, examples where and how to start. Some part has to be explained by luck. If you don't introduce luck in your explanation, you cannot explain it. For example, this is the very garage where Steve Jobs started his Apple company. This is the place where 11 computer scientists in Beijing, in China, started in '84 company Lenovo. They changed the name, Legendary Computer Company, and in 2003 they changed again the name into Legend and Novo for Novelty. In 2005 they acquired IBM's PC division, and for years now they are, from this humble start, became the biggest laptop producers in the world. Observe what is going on. Observe what others are doing. Observe what you know and see if there is continuity or discontinuity in your expertise. The dynamo is here, electricity, electric bulb, electricity, and radio. There is some distant continuity between these three different products. They are all powered by electricity, and they are bulbs and the like. In 1920, there were 600 radio producing firms in the US. 10 years later, only 18 survived. Only 2 were successful startups. Others, 16 of them, have roots in similar businesses. So there is certain continuity in this things. And then I also ask my students, rubber boots and mobile phones, is there continuity or no? And definitely there is no continuity. Nokia started as a company that was producing rubber boots for lumberjacks. They were going far in the woods to cut trees, and they needed to be in touch over the phone or so with the headquarters. It was difficult and inconvenient and uncertain because of cuts to use wires. So they went into this business, and there is a jump. There is in the previous example continuity. In this one, there is discontinuity, and now this is some years ago. What were different in the upper panel? Different products that were producing different services, and now everything is joined in one mobile phone. And what is next? Next, maybe this flexible mobile phone. The problem is what to do in crisis. There is risk and uncertainty. Against risk, you may get some insurance, and uncertainty, you cannot. And recessions create more opportunities for challenges and changes, not less. Think about this. And then those that are in the economic business, they may either sink the boat if they make a bad bet, or miss the boat, let the opportunity pass. During the recession of the 1933, Kellogg's was the company that was in competition with another one called Post. And in recession, what you do? Well, some companies cut on research, cut on advertisements, and the like. Post did that. They reduced expenditure to reduce costs on advertising. Kellogg's did this, the opposite thing. They increased advertisements, because for $1 of advertising, they could get more time on the radio waves. So $1 was buying more advertising time. And what happened after that, when the crisis passed away? Kellogg's was capturing the market, bigger part, and it remains until today. Post is there, but Kellogg's is still number one. They did opposite things. Texas Instruments did a very similar thing in 1954, in 2001, Apple gambled with iPod and then turned into everything. And many firms gambled and failed. Here is this Texas Instruments transistor. And now we come to a very, well, at least my favorite example. What to do? What to do, either in research or in business or so. Try to do something which you understand, at least in general terms. Denmark has always been a farm-based economy. So they have these plows that were plowing land, and they understood the physics of turning land, turning ground. So this understanding of the physics of turning ground moved them to the physics of understanding of turning water and doing something else. And then they understood how to turn ground, how to turn water, how to turn wind. And now Denmark is not only self-sufficient in electric energy, they produce, I think, 1/3 extra. So they export it. And there is a continuity, understanding of physics of turning something, ground, water, wind. These are different products, different industries, but there is a line of what people understood over there in general terms. Then the Ruhr region in Germany, for a century or more than that, it was one of the prime example of pollution and polluting industries because of the production of iron and steel. So they were polluting a lot. They understood how this pollution works, and they did an inverse version. Okay, we know how to pollute, we know how to depollute. And Essen, with its green technologies and industries, became the European green capital of Europe in 2017. So there is an understanding of how to do things and how to undo things. And this is what happened. Incubators. These are the state-of-the-art incubators. What happened with them? In 2004, there was a tsunami in Indonesia. So the whole world was helping Indonesia to get rid of the terrific consequences of the tsunami, and the hospital in Mulabog got a donation of state-of-the-art infant incubators. 4 years later, they were all out of order. The reason is power surges, humidity, staff was unable to read manuals in English, and maintenance was poor. And in general terms, 95% of medical technology donated to the developing countries breaks within the first 5 years. They didn't know how to read in English, maintain power surges, and the like. And what happened in Indonesia a couple of years ago? NeoNurture is an incubator that got an award, and it was based on car parts. It was based on, you see here, this is the phare for the light of the car to produce heat. This is a fan for the cooling. And these people knew how to do this bricolage. They were using what they understood. They understood how to maintain small motorbikes and relatively low technology cars. And from what they understood, they made this, this incubator. Honda Research Institute. Honda was coming from a family. His father was a smith, and his father sent him to a nearby city to learn how to make or repair bicycles. At that time, after the Second World War, Japan was in a terrible economic situation, didn't have enough hard currency to buy imported fuel, and there should be savings. So people had to get to have something for running around, and Honda put a small two-stroke engine on a bicycle. This was cheap, didn't ask for a lot of fuel, and started the production of these types of motorbikes. Then it went to this one, and then went the electric motorbikes. And what is necessary for the production of cars? In many cases, the production of cars was based on a local industry that was either producing or maintaining bicycles. Morris in Oxford started like that. So let me go to the example of Honda. What you need in the bicycle business is to understand the steel tube frame, how to put the body of a bicycle. Then you need to understand the chain drive of this vehicle, and you need to understand the ball bearings. So accumulated knowledge was there, and no wonder that they ended up in the further production of cars. Now, before, when Korea was developing in the late 50s and 60s. By the way, at the end of the Second World War, South Korea had the same level of GDP per capita as the Sudan. And we see where the Sudan is today and where Korea was, where Korea is now. So Korea was developing without foreign investment, just like China. So foreign investment helps, but it is not the major engine, not necessarily the major engine of development and growth. So they were producing cars and other goods all in one place. Engines, tires, electrics, and the like. Now, when new countries in Africa, in Asia, and the like, because of the fragmentation of the production chain, it is easier now to develop than at the time of Korea, when Korea was developing, because this fragmented value chain permits you to excel only in one part of it. You don't have to produce everything. But there is one catch. Being a developing country, you cannot get a discount. Oh, we are developing, we need to have lower standards. No, you have to have the highest possible standards because your part, if it cannot fit into a Samsung mobile phone, it is out. So you can specialize in certain part of the production, but it must be on the very top level. Otherwise, you are out. So, what are the issues for an economy? Before was the agility and flexibility, in your reaction to the changing market situation. There were global value chains. They are complex and long. And just-in-time production is a prime recipe for prosperity. But now, this has changed. Resilience is what is necessary because of unexpected shocks like pandemics, tsunamis, or what happened a few weeks ago at the Suez Canal. So there are national vulnerabilities. You need to reduce the damage. So the COVID-19 pandemic, there it pushed many countries towards national solutions to economic problems. And there is a vaccine nationalism and retreat from the borderless supply chain. On the one hand side, the firms, they want economies of scale and efficiency and openness. On the other side, governments want to have critical supplies, either in stocks or access to critical supplies. So what's the problem? What's the difference or friction between international cooperation and self-sufficiency? So one has to explore that. Then sovereignty is driving right now world towards protectionism and autarky and autonomy. Where is the border between the two? And now what is going on, or which is contemplated, is rearrangement of production from long supply chains and just-in-time production to stockpiles and inventories. And this is expensive and time-consuming. Moving production from China to Vietnam or Cambodia takes time. One has to build facilities and train labor, or moving back from China to the United States, and the cost of production would go through the roof. So this is something which is being the first impact of the COVID-19 crisis and its impact on globalization. So the principal effect of the COVID-19 crisis is on the labor market. The good news is that work from home permits new workers to appear in the global labor force in India, in Russia, in God knows where. They are offering services at lower wages because it is compensated by lower local prices and cost of living. This increases productivity and reduces pollution because people are not traveling, they are not using transport. Congestion is being reduced. The bad news is that workers from India outbid workers in California, not only from India. For example, computer programmers in Russia, in Sofia, in Serbia, they outbid workers in California, for example. So they are cheaper to live places, they become attractive. And there is a time difference. You have a problem in California, you send it to China or to Russia or to Bulgaria. Because of the time difference, they work on it. So once you wake up in California, you have a solution potentially to your problem. So there is a polarization in rich countries by those that have jobs and those that are losing jobs. So a topic for research is what is the economic policy to stop this polarization. Another topic, as I said, is the operation of economy under perpetual sanctions, like the Russian economy. Then there is a problem of demography. Aging societies. Fewer workers contribute to pension systems. Labor is diverted to care for the old. And export-dependent economies with low birth rates, such as Germany, China, and Russia, may have a problem. So this is another topic for research, highly publishable. Because the older they consume, and in these countries, they consume less, and they have to export more, in particular Germany. And there are obstacles to this export-led growth because consumption generally decreased after 2008 in the developed Western world, but not in China and in the East. Protectionism returned, and the US slowly moves away from its role as a global consumer. And what I tell to my students while we are discussing integration in Asia is that when you take a look at these countries, they are all huge countries, huge potential, like China, maybe 1.5 billion of consumers. 600 of them are in the middle class, which is growing in size and growing in income. They are consuming, they are becoming more and more sophisticated. And this Chinese middle class market is significantly bigger than the entire market of the European Union. Then there is India, almost 1.5 billion people, Vietnam, 100 million consumers, Indonesia, almost 300 million people, and the like. So consumption is, and production and economic prosperity is moving there. So coming close to the concluding remarks is where to go, what to do. What is the advice? And I would go to something which more than half a century ago wrote Friedrich von Hayek. It is the price of democracy, this is a quotation, that the possibilities of conscious control are restricted to the fields where true agreement exists, and that in some fields things must be left to chance. Cannot control, need to left to chance. And what does it mean? Left to chance means is to place more faith in spontaneous competitive process than in the conscious control by authority, especially an authority so far removed from the citizens it claims to represent. And yesterday in my class, I said that Brussels, the European Union, is in the hands of technocrats and for them, people are numbers. On the other hand, for leaders, people are individuals that you need to understand, work with, and understand them. Now, in conclusion of my presentation is that you need to select a sound theme for research. You have to have a degree of curiosity, perseverance, and of course, funds and time. You need to build on what exists. That is what you understand. That doesn't mean that you don't have to change and to do something totally different. Not at all. Not at all. But it is a riskier way of going. But if you are a risk lover, please do go. Exercise your entrepreneurship, your intellectual entrepreneurship. And you need to know when to stop, when it's not leading anywhere. there are uncontrollable external factors. There is also an element of chance. I, for example, had the chance when I went to study to Canada to have the opportunity to follow the course of Richard Lipsey. Richard Lipsey was not teaching, I think, for 10 years. He was in the C.D. Howe Institute in Toronto and was coming only that semester when I was at Queen's University at Kingston, Ontario. And all the students, most of them from my generation, there were some 30, 40, 50, they were all going into econometrics and mathematics. And I was one of very few students that followed his course in economic policy. There were maybe 6, 7 students, and very often I was alone with him because the other students didn't show up or were doing something else. So at the university, there was a blackboard, him and me, and there was no excuse, oh, I have a headache or so. So I had this chance to be trained by him. His economic textbook, the Introduction into Positive Economics, was published over the past 50 years in 100 million copies. It was translated into 50 or more different languages. And I had the chance to be trained by him. And this is where I went into profound parts of economic integration. There was a chance. Thank God. Then education matters. Yes, Bill Gates is a college dropout. I think also Steve Jobs didn't finish. But these are examples. I cannot enumerate 5 of them. So education matters. And then I have a question for you. Is this science, what we are doing, what we have done today, or is it art? Science has clear subject, method, laws, and policy recommendations. Art is a venture into the unknown. Or is it a bit of both? For those that are interested in a deeper way of this evolutionary disequilibrium economics, I can say that recently I published this book. And if you know nothing about evolutionary economics, well, the title could be Disequilibrium Economics, but with a publisher, we decided that it is Evolutionary Spatial Economics or Evolutionary Economic Geography. It is there. So if you are interested, you are welcome to take a look at this, and perhaps, if you wish, take it from there. And this is my final word. If you like what you are doing, you will probably not become materially rich, but rich people will envy you. And for those that are celebrating coming Easter, at the end of this class, I would like to wish you Christos Voskrese, and I thank you for this opportunity to share these thoughts with my friends and colleagues in St. Petersburg and elsewhere. Thank you. If there are questions, we have, I think, I was within the time limit. If there are questions, I'll be happy to reply.
Thank you, Miroslav. It was very interesting. So now time for questions and for comments, please.
Well, this is silence either says that everything was clear, or most likely that nothing was clear in this presentation.
May I have a question, Miro?
Please be my guest.
Actually, my question is a little bit more general than your presentation. Well, because you have a pretty great experience teaching in many places. Well, how would you assess the quality of education in the countries where you teach, and where you could put Russia?
Okay, this is a very good question, a very tricky question. I've been teaching in many places, and I can tell you that you know, in China and in Japan, the teacher is very high. I don't want to say the name, because the first commandment is never use the name of God in vain. So the Japanese say Miro Sensei. It is the teacher, and whatever he says, that's the end of the world. No discussion further. They take it and they don't question it. I was trying to encourage them with the tricky questions to extract their questions. The quality, look, the quality of education is in many cases pretty high. I cannot dispute that, but the quality of students is different. I would rather say more about the students in Asia. They are silent. The students which I have, for example, in Geneva or in North America, they question, they dispute, and I very much encourage that, because during my course, over the whole semester, they are examining me every week, and I have the time to examine them only during the exam, either 15 minutes or to read what they have done. The quality of education is pretty high. I see that more or less the sources are available in all the countries, the most recent ones. But what I can say that in the Western Europe, the Bologna system has destroyed the biggest quality of education that Europe is known for centuries. That is the revenge of bad students. They want to equalize all students and all universities and all studies. And for example, how can, say, heart surgery, I'm inventing the topic, be the same in Geneva and the heart surgery in Tuzla in Bosnia? They have both medical schools and universities and the like. I don't want to downgrade what's going on in Bosnia or in Serbia or so, but the quality of equipment and experience is totally different. And Bologna is equalizing that. You can go jump from one, you have a big puzzle and use these small parts and go from Cambridge to Geneva, from Geneva to Warsaw, from Warsaw to Sofia, from Sofia to Serbia, and the like. And that is destroying. I am in favor of elite universities. because I don't know the situation in Russia, but you know much better than me. How can the State University of St. Petersburg be on the same level as a university maybe 3 blocks away from you, or somewhere in Siberia? They are offering different type of products. But coming back to what's going on in Western Europe, even in Serbia, it is a disaster, this Bologna system, because bad students that were unable to finish it in the usual and hard way wanted to even out all these universities. So coming back, and I'm always saying to my students about your university is that you have 2 Nobel Prize in economics, Kantorovich and Leontiev. So there is. So I am for these differentiations. I don't want to say that there are not smart students or universities here, there, and elsewhere, but there is a huge concentration of knowledge. As I said, well, another example, Sheffield in England was known for centuries for the production of knives and iron and steel, and they were polluting. And now the production of iron and steel all went first to Japan and then Korea, and now in China. There is almost no production. But what they knew over there is how to transform iron ore and coal into iron and steel. They knew this transformation. And now they have one of the best centers in the world for new materials, transforming things. And it takes a long time to understand these things, to have specialization in one or another. And coming back to your question, it is not necessarily the quality of education, but the quality of students and the quality of what they want. Is it their job to get the paper and to do whatever somewhere in the office, or is it their mission to understand, to learn more from that? And Bologna, in the Bologna system, has destroyed this mission-related intentions. So, well, you asked about the quality of education, and I was talking about the quality of students and putting things together. So the quality of education, for example, in Russia, my goodness, you were the first one in space. No one can dispute that, and you are a generation ahead of everybody else in rockets and missiles. So, but not in the production of T-shirts and the like. So you have a certain type of expertise. Others have another one. So I'm not sure that I have given you this neoclassical black and white reply, but rather evolutionary reply about this quality of education. And I was talking also about students and their interest to question, to dispute in a constructive way. So I can tell you that I had fantastic, most of my students in Geneva are really fantastic. Then I had a bunch of Chinese students in Greece. And some of them were very enterprising regarding ideas, asking very smart questions. If you are interested in later on, I can tell you. Yes, the quality is there. or perhaps not only quality, but potentials for offering quality is there in Russia, and in most cases, apart from the places where they are, like many, unfortunately, private universities, I can say in Serbia, where the hardest thing is to take to open the door. That's the hardest thing that you do at the university. You go over there and it is a diploma light. Olga, did I give you at least a part of what you wanted to hear?
Thank you, Miro. As always, a very comprehensive, diplomatic, and interesting answer. Thank you very
Look,
much.
I'm not a diplomat. I'm not a diplomat. I was working for the United Nations, and even there I was rather non-diplomatic and was saying this can fly or this cannot fly. Although, if you want, I can speak this diplomatic language for an hour and not saying anything. But I hate
Thank
that.
you, Miro.
I just leave the conference or so. I can't listen to this. And I have heard for almost 30 years many, well, not many, most of these speeches and discussions. Yes. Others.
I wanted to thank you for such a nice presentation. And in a way, your presentation gave me a very important insight about the scientific research strategy. For me, it's like a reinterpretation of Charles Darwin theory of natural selection, when a human being as an idea can be presented as a copy, multiple copy with a small deviations, and and only those copies who adapt to environment, to new conditions, will continue to exist, to live. And there is an issue of competition, adaptability. So thank you very much. What do you think about it?
Yes. Ekaterina, I think that you have listened very carefully, but let me just give you a small incentive, perhaps, to go into my book. Or you mentioned competition, and those that are best can survive. Now, those that survive are not the best ones. Those that survive are the best that can multiply in a best way. For example, and you have many examples in my book, all engineers, and I'm zero for this, say that the videotapes, well, from the times of your grandparents, videotapes, they were Betamax and VHS, two different systems, correct? Have you heard about that? VHS and Betamax. All engineers tell me that Betamax, the Sony system, is by far superior than the VHS. However, VHS was the one which survived and buried the Betamax. So it's not the one which is the best, technically the best, but the one which is multiplying itself in the best possible way. So this is it, not the best, but the one which reproduces itself in the best way survives. And there are also many other examples like this. So if you wish, I would encourage you to take a look at this. And what I do in this book, I make parallels between biology and economics. How things are created, developed, transformed, and disappear in biological work, and how some of them remain the same and why, and how it is done in the world of business and economics, how firms appear, transform, disappear. Crocodiles and cockroaches are there for 300 million years without changes. And they change. And how, for example, dogs that were chased by tigers in India, they went into water and transformed into dolphins. Did you know that dolphins are transformed dogs? Ekaterina, did you know? Well, it is also some firms that they appear and transform into something else. So I was making parallels. Can one do this this between biological world and world in economics and business? I was always trying to be different. Just try to be different. You know, these lone wolf approaches. What was said about who makes problems, who creates things like George Bernard Shaw, unreasonable things. If you are doing that in your own way or your job, you can get and leave your office at 4 o'clock and go home. But if you are trying to do this different things or so, you never sleep. And I've done it. I've done it. Whether I was successful or not, I don't know. But the books go. Other questions, comments, suggestions? Oh, how much, Alexander? How?
Yes, might be one more questions, and that's all.
Because of the time, because I'm
yes,
available. And
we are under pressure, so.
Look, I am in constant contact with Sasha, with Olga, and Vladimir, and sometimes Sergey, but he is high up or so. But all these matters for years we discuss and exchange. Yes, if there are.
May I ask the question? If this
yes,
the last one, yes.
That's not the last one. So I was inspired by your presentation. Thank you very much. And you also mentioned about the effect of COVID-19. And then in the framework, in the context of our conversation today, I began to thought actually how COVID-19 affected the research area. So it affected in the manner that we begin to study more this issue, or it also affected how we communicate with each other. So what are the linkages you see? So what pandemic actually opened new or opened the Pandora box in case of the research in economics?
Well, the first impact I mentioned was on the labor market. People can sit at home, they don't go out, there is less pollution, less congestion, and others entered in India or in Russia or in Bulgaria or wherever where the programmers are in the labor market. So the research is that a part of these people, again, let me go back to my example in California, that are high in this programming business, they can get cheaper inputs from other places. And lower level programmers in the United States remain out of business because one can get the same, even better or faster reply for the price, which is 80%, 80 lower. So those that are in business, their productivity and income increases, and others.
I'm sorry, Miroslav, I thought in research area. So those who are research.
Well, research, in research area, research how this differentiation in income is impacting the economy of a country. There is to research the income gap, which is widening. Not necessarily only in the United States, maybe in Russia, you know that much better. People like taxi drivers or in transport or so, they have less work to do. Their income is falling down. What are they doing? Then the government may say, oh, now there is less pollution, we'll invest fewer funds in the introduction of filters. The distribution of public money, distribution of quantity of work, man hours. Who is getting more? Who is getting less? Who is going out? And how this redistribution of income is going to impact investments, consumption, social expenditure, and the like. Is this what you wanted? A part of it?
Yeah, I thought maybe I was wrong with the question.
You are never wrong with the question. Wrongs can be answers.
I thought that just I'm thinking about myself as a researcher. What does COVID-19 means for me as a researcher? First of all, it means that I, on one hand, communicate less with the people because I do not go to conferences and so on. But on the other hand, we have digital programs and digitalization of the programs, and we now could use the online format of their, for example, research seminars or whatever.
But Alexandra, I think it's quite good to continue in the future. Unfortunately, we have a time limit and we need to go for our next sessions. So, Miroslav, thanks a lot for your.
Thank you, but I have to reply to Alexandra.
Yes.
One of my very old professors, he is in his mid-90s, had a very great observation about this. You don't see, you don't have this contact with students, you don't see body language, you don't extract their opinion. And he said, if we are all doing this online, is there going to be the next generation of people when they are not in touch with each other? How are going to come babies? There are good things, but there are, I don't know whether it's Google or Amazon or so, they have one day without mobile phones, without computers or so. They have one day a week to go from one office to another, to see, to hear either a new idea or gossip. And again, chance, you bump into someone and get the idea. And if this presentation was such a chance to get the new idea or so, it may, at least as far as I'm concerned, give us incentive to stay in touch. Yeah. And not only through wires. I hate that you have seen this, the problem which I had, and my son was helping me.
Thank you very much, Miroslav. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, everyone, for your invitation, and in particular to Olga, to Sasha, and to Vladimir, and to all others that were in touch with me about this. It was my great pleasure.
Thank you, and we hope to see your our faculty on our next conferences offline, not online.
Offline. Look, a couple of years ago, I spent some 10 days giving a full week course or so in Twente over, and I was pleasantly surprised to see a number of German students at your school. It's not only that the Russians are going to Germany, but also Germans going to Russia. And I have one full class about Russia-German relations. Okay, once again, let me finish with appropriate words. A little bit early. Christos Voskres.
Воистину воскрес, но еще немножко рано. Будем на Пасху так говорить.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you for your lecture. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. It was fascinating. Goodbye.
Bye.
Miroslav, we do not switch off the
okay.
conference because the next will be another session today. Thank you very much. Yulia, I think we could stop the video, or Юля, мне кажется, мы можем остановить трансляцию.
Саша, а секции здесь будут?
По-моему, да, я не помню программу, надо посмотреть.
Ну ладно, дайте я выйду, а потом зайду куда. Чтобы не выходить, думала, можно сэкономить, но не проблема, ладно.
Юля, здравствуйте. Вы тут? Я думаю, что можно закончить запись.